In part 2 of Goodbye to Minimalism, Hello to Soulful Choices, we explore the outer changes and how we live when inner values begin to shift. This isn't about trends or even optimizing a lifestyle. It is about what quietly reorganizes when the soul begins leading instead of habits or fear taking over. I have found that the outer life has become an inner mirror. One of the things I've been sitting with is just this. Sometimes I wonder if how we treat the earth reflects on how we treat ourselves. The way we care for land, space, resources, and beauty often mirrors the gentleness and respect we extend inward. I remember when stuff was pulling visual and physical energy from me. And when I had less of it, I suddenly had the space and time to evaluate more honestly. The most important question became, what do I actually value? And is that reflected in my surroundings and in my life? I even thought to myself, what happens if a complete stranger walked through my home with the assignment to describe who I am? What would they say? What would feel coherent? What would feel unclear or mismatched? That kind of inquiry can gently reveal what's aligned and what may still be lingering out of an old identity and possibly an old habit. I found early in my career that my education and temperament were well suited for nonprofit work. My passion met purpose there. There was an alignment between what I cared about and what I offered in the world. And I have noticed that others approach work very differently. Work becomes primarily income, access to income, rather than a heart connection. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with practicality. But in the decades I've been working, I found that when work becomes disconnected from meaning, it can subtly drain the nervous system and fragment our sense of self. For me, soulful living is about connection across all areas of life. How we live, what we purchase, what we eat, what we wear, how we move through the world, and what we contribute. It is not about perfection. I always say that I am imperfectly perfect, but it is about coherence. After minimalism comes embodied choice. I have naturally begun living smaller. Through several relocations, I keep choosing smaller spaces. About maybe 15 years ago, I remember hearing someone say they live well but small. And that phrase stayed with me. It was a match for who I was becoming and what I was growing into and growing out of. It felt like the ultimate reevaluation of want versus need, but not in a restrictive way, but in an honest way. What actually supports my nervous system? What supports my creativity? And what supports my sense of peace and presence, especially in a very dynamic world. Now, alongside that shift, I also found that I was naturally buying for quality rather than quantity. I became less interested in accumulation and more interested in longevity and integrity of the business I was purchasing from. Fewer things, chosen more consciously, began to feel more supportive than many things chosen quickly. Now, smaller doesn't necessarily mean lesser, but smaller can mean lighter and definitely more intentional. Your life gently begins to realign with your soul. I have found that the soul needs more of you to be available and not constantly be enmeshed in clutter, busyness, or the noise in the world. This availability became a quiet form of maturity. When soulful living deepens, it stops becoming something you think about and starts becoming something you embody. And I found this happened very unconsciously. For me, I began to care more about the environment, how I relate to time, how I spend my energy, and definitely I was able to listen to my nervous system much more closely. I like presenting questions to myself. It may be, it may sound odd, but it actually works. Earlier, the question was, what should I do? What am I going to do today? And now it's, what feels honest and sustainable for who I am becoming. That's where outer changes stop feeling like sacrifice and start feeling like alignment. For me, perhaps for you, life has become less about managing an image, more about living in quiet integrity with myself. Now, the outer changes I mentioned in the title don't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. They often unfold slowly through small decisions that accumulate in a different way of living. When inner clarity grows, outer life naturally reorganizes. Not through force, but through coherence. We begin choosing what supports our nervous system, our values, our relationships, and our sense of presence in the world. I felt I was belonging in a different way. I found myself living in ways that felt more real rather than performative. In the end, it is all about honesty and gentleness with this season you're actually in. Whether you're entering into minimalism, in the middle of minimalism, and it fits for you, which is so wonderful, or coming out of minimalism and just wanting to tweak it, change it slightly for the changes it made inside of you, because it does change you. In a separate video, I'm probably going to address how those of us that are empaths, as we come out of minimalism and want to repurchase some things very, very mindfully, how I have found in other friends that we can no longer go resale shopping. The energy is too great that we now feel the objects so differently, and we pick up the energy from the previous owners. And I think it just needs to be addressed. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. But this reflection is part of the ongoing conversation in the Goodbye series here on the Rising Soul. Releasing what has completed and welcoming what's ready to emerge. This is a space for wisdom, growth, and transformation. If you're new here, I'm so happy you found this channel. And if you've been here for a while, thank you for returning. If this reflection resonated, you're welcome to like, subscribe, or share it with someone who may need it. Because as I say, we are all wising up together.